Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we got some big news. We got the Regulation G rule set. This is going to be the rule set that we're playing with from May until at least the North American Championships. So starting, I think Indianapolis Regionals will be the first event in this format. And yeah, it's going to be one restricted, as you can see on screen, which actually, believe it or not, I think most people speculated it would be. There was a promotional poster, I think, for Japan Nationals that featured restricted Pokemon. And so everyone kind of assumed this would be the case, but we did get confirmation today, which is nice to have. Now, Alex and I, after Vancouver Regionals, we were hanging out over at his place in Seattle, and we did a small stream that was basically speculation. If it was this rule set, how would we tier all of these restricted Pokemon? And I figured now that we actually have the rule set, that would actually probably be a pretty good listen to. We looked at some of the new moves and new things that these Pokemon could do, and maybe new items that they could use, and maybe some synergies. And we actually ranked all these Pokemon. So we recorded this before we knew the rule set, so that might be why it sounds like we make it sound like it's not confirmed, but yeah, and we do talk about basically every single restricted. So yeah, and enjoy.
And so for Regulation G, we don't know anything about it. Everyone's saying it's going to be single restricted.
There was a promo for Japan Nationals or Japan Nationals qualifiers that had restricteds on it.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone is speculating that it is going to be single restricted or double restricted format. We don't know which one. Single restricted happened a couple times in Sword and Shield, but I think it was really unpopular. So we'll see if they take that feedback into account. Whereas double restricted is more traditional, and I think it's probably a little more balanced, but we'll talk about that as we go through the Pokemon. But we were spending the car ride driving back from Vancouver, just talking about all the restricteds and speculating about which ones might be good, which ones might be bad, the different move pools they got, the different stat changes they got, the new forms they got for some cases, all that stuff. And so we will definitely talk about this more once we get the rule set, which I think will happen a week from now, or maybe 2 weeks from now, early April, we should get the rule set.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we're here. We don't really have much to talk about because we all bombed the regional. So
yeah,
we figured we might as well give you a primer on some of the restricted Pokemon you might see.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward, not literally looking forward. I'm not excited about single restricted. I don't get it twisted. Honestly, double restricted formats, I'm not a huge fan of either. I might end up liking them more than National Dex. National Dex has felt pretty cringe lately, even though Regulation F is obviously one of the best formats, one of the most skill-based formats we've had of all time. Sometimes it can be a little annoying.
I don't know, man. I'd say it's gone all downhill since January.
Yeah, so true, so true. Honestly, early January, it's just been a train wreck. But yeah, so I'm trying to think, what do I want to, use in the next format if it is going to end up being this. I just want to look forward because that's going to be what play at LA, play at NAIC, maybe even Worlds. Starting off though, we have this list here of guys that won't be included. There's no primal forms or megas, so those are kind of the obvious ones. There's no Z crystals, so you're not going to see this guy. No, that guy was never legal.
The tier list has every single legendary ever, and I just
yeah. And then these are probably the most notable ones. Yeah, these three are the missing guys that are big. I think Zygarde could have been really crazy weird with Terra. Xerneas probably a little toxic.
Xerneas, I think we were talking. Michael was also in the car right back. We were talking to him about it. He said Xerneas breaks the Terra mechanic. Either you Terra Fairy and you're doing just stupid amounts of damage. You think Flutter Mane does damage. I mean, you're KOing everything. Or you run a defensive Terra and you just get the Geomancy off. So we'll see. I would not be shocked if one of the changes that happens is these Pokemon get added in after the Pokemon ZA get released. And then we have another format where we have access to these restricteds. And maybe that'll be one of the ways they change it up instead of trying to repeating the same formats over and over again, making slight changes. Xerneas, obviously very centralizing. Yveltal, also historically one of the best restricteds. It's probably a little worse now that Flutter Mane exists and there's another fairy type. It doesn't exist at the same time, but historically in formats where Xerneas hasn't been super popular, Yveltal has been one of the best restricteds. So also gone from there. And oh my god, we have Calyrex Shadow and we have Lunala and we don't have Yveltal for the first time.
Yes.
That's terrifying. Zygarde, like you said, historically was an interesting Pokemon where you would just set it up to +6. It was almost like a Komodo or I'm trying to think, a Combine Raging Bolt type Pokemon as restricted. But no Tapu Fini really hurts it. It really relied on having a way to get side swagger and not get burnt. Having a Clear Amulet actually helps it a lot. It always hated getting Intimidate cycled. But So I don't know. It would have been interesting to see, but sadly it's not going to be in the game, and I'm sure it'll get a new form, crazy new form in Pokemon ZA, which is going to change the way you play it entirely. So
That's kind of true. Yeah, I forgot that guy's like technically the star of that game, right? Or like it likely will be.
Are you ready for the new Xerneas form?
No.
Primal
no.
Xerneas?
Yeah, I forgot that we do have these guys to talk about. We'll get there though.
It's gonna be future Xerneas, right?
Yeah. I'll start with Mewtwo here. We're gonna put Mewtwo in probably just C here. I think it's probably more viable than the guys that we immediately ruled out off the bat. The like Cosmog and Cosmo you can't even use like to any effect. Necrozma is just power crept by its other forms. Kyurem kind of the same. And Calyrex, I guess, also the same, though its forms are drastically different than it. They're not like grass types. But Mewtwo, it probably has like expanding force. The thing, okay, here's like all you need to know about Mewtwo. Yeah, I guess it's in the game. But okay, the thing about Mewtwo is it has 130 speed. That is like the main thing you need to know about Mewtwo, is that it has 130 speed, and that's just not going to cut it.
All right, I'm making you respond to this message from Kunal while I keep talking about Mewtwo. or maybe I switch to a different Pokemon, because I think Mewtwo, I agree. There's too many other Psychic types. I mean, it was from that era where every restrictor was a Psychic type, and now especially that some of like the best Pokemon in the game. Again, we're going to talk about some of the better ones. Maybe we should start with the better ones. We know what the meta looks like, I guess. But yeah, CSR is just like going to be crazy good, right? And so anytime that you're in a format where the best Pokemon, the two best Pokemon, honestly, Fluttermane, CSR, a couple others that are really good we'll talk about. Two of the best Pokemon are Ghost types that can threaten Mewtwo super effectively and outspeed it, is really rough for it. It just, it really needs that Mega. It really needs a little bit more of a new form to get back to the power creep level that we've reached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you can kind of skip past Lugia as well. Like I'm gonna put it down here and see about as low as we can go. It's probably more viable than Mewtwo, admittedly. I think it's got multi-scale. It's got like pretty infinite bulk and an okay enough typing. At least like Flying Stab with Aeroblast is really fun. CSR does mean Calyrex Shadow Rider. Yes. Which is funny because people always say CSR, but nobody ever says CIR because it's just such a mouthful. It sounds gross. So most people say Ice Rider. And then you could also just say Shadow Rider. There's a lot of different ways to refer to these guys. But yeah, Lugia, it's honestly similar to the Zygarde category, where it's like, it's just clicking setup moves, maybe like Calm Mind, or maybe it has like a cheesy weakness policy set. And then it's just trying to live forever and be the big win condition thing. I don't know.
This is that's too many. We got the Jehu category.
Jehu only? Yeah. He can make this one work.
So John cut last Vancouver two Vancouvers ago with Lugia. Right? No, he got with Eternatus. He miscut at Indy with Lugia. I beat him in the last round and knocked him out of cut.
Damn.
Yeah, well, it turns out Lugia is not very good to Ice Rider.
Or Shadow Rider.
But no, Lugia is, I think it's better in double restricted. It just has it's like, you're in a single restricted format, you really need your restricted to be good. In a double restricted format, you can have one restricted really power up your team and the other one sort of support it and cover the weaknesses. And we're going to talk about a couple other restricteds that really wish they had a partner because they don't want to carry all that weight, but are maybe good in double restricted. But I think Lugia's in the same boat. It's got a cool support move, cool. It's one of the very few flying types that can do damage right now. That's one of the things that, other than Tornadus, we haven't really seen flying coverage this format. It's a little frustrating. We see like Corviknight, right? Because people are that desperate for flying types. And so having Aeroblast is a really good flying move. It does have that niche going for it. But as a one restricted, it just can't do it on its own. It needs a partner, I think, to really even be considered.
Yep. And then I don't know how generous we're going to end up being with the tiers here. And also Aquamarine, thank you. We did have some good times in Vancouver. Got some good food. We got to see some cool stuff. So
yeah.
We checked out Granville Island and Stanley Park. Those are like two of the main things that we did. Ho-Oh, we'll see how crowded S and A end up being if I say Ho-Oh is B.
I agree.
But Ho-Oh is probably, it's definitely a tier above Mewtwo. I can say that for sure. And it's, still got one of the best typing and bulk combinations. It has to watch out for Kyogre's Water Spout and the occasional rock move. But it's got infinite Spadef. It's got Sacred Fire to patch up its physical defense, and if it's allowed to, I think it has Regenerator too, right? Which is going to be like that's just a really good ability on a solid Pokemon. Though I don't think I want to put it much higher. Just because the way that ESM put it was very well. He said it's just like glorified Entei, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
When are we supposed to get Reg G? I don't know if they've ever said anything official, but
we get the rule set from Pokemon Home updates or Pokemon the Battle Stadium updates that usually happen the first week of the month before the rule set releases. The rule set is official. So Regulation G will start May 1st or May 2nd, something like that. But we will usually get the rules the first week of April. So we'll have a month where there are tournaments in Regulation F, but everyone is not playing a tournament or playing this new format, which I think is anticlimactic, but, you know, it also would suck to have a week to prep for regional on May 5th, right? So
would it though? I mean, with legendaries, yes.
So especially if we didn't know the format, because we still don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, I'm gonna skip one step here. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about these at some point, but I'm gonna go ahead and put these two in S tier because I think that when we're talking about every other Pokemon in the game, you have to think about the especially in GS Cup or single restricted, the metagame gets so centralized around these powerful restricteds that you really have to consider how other Pokemon exist in the context of these powerful Pokemon, right? And so in this case, the reason Ho-Oh is B tier and not C tier or J-Hu tier is because even though it has a pretty low BST, even though it's not really clicking the most powerful attacking moves, it's got a massive special defense stat, which means it does pretty well into Caloric Shadow Rider, and it does pretty well into Miraidon, who is a fighting dragon, right? With fire coverage. So, like, it doesn't really hit it. Flutter Mane's going to be really common. Flutter Mane doesn't really hit it, right? So, it actually is pretty well positioned into these top Pokemon, but then it feels like you're matchup fishing, you know? Like, oh, you run into Kyogre, you're in a really bad spot. You run into a Miraidon, and you're in a really bad spot. And so, in some sense, like, I feel like I would rather do the most powerful thing possible and not try to matchup fish and hope I hit good matchups with a Pokemon that is relatively weak. And that's kind of where I think Ho-Oh sits in this format.
Yeah. It's just basically like a anti-meta Pokemon, and so you can only do so well with that. If you hit meta every time, then you're chilling. But if you fight something that isn't there, like Kyogre, is definitely going to still be good. We can probably start talking about that guy now. I put Groudon up there just because just talking about these three quickly. Let's do those, and then we'll move on to Kyogre. But Groudon and Miraidon, different Pokemon, similar-ish Pokemon that'll be put around them, I would say. And so that's like something to like think about when you're like building. Is you want to have a Pokemon that has to Terra every time it sees a Flutter because it's 4x weeks to Fairy, or you know some other type of supporting options. Or do you want Groudon who doesn't get this stupid photosynthesis offense boost also and have 3 stabs, because Groudon's just, you know, clicking ground moves. This guy's clicking sun boosted fire moves on top of its stab, dragon, and fighting. But we have so many strong photosynthesis mons. Like, you can just run Raging Bolt with this guy and you have a budget Miraidon. You can run Flutter Mane and it has booster energy automatically. You can run
I'm gonna pull up Miraidon's stats because I don't actually know them off the top of my head.
Yeah. Notably, it that he missed a couple of keys.
The keyboard's over there.
Yeah. So it's got 135 offense, 135 speed, 100, 115, 100 is such solid bulk. Holy shit.
And of course, the big downside is its typing, which is good offensively, but pretty tragic in a format where Flutter Mane is probably the number 1 usage Pokemon.
Yeah. This is gonna be.
Oh, also the speed tier. Keep the speed tier. This is also very relevant.
Yeah.
Man, like, so 135 speed. Chien-Pao is 135, hits it super effectively. Flutter Mane's 135, hits it super effectively. Pretty sure Miraidon KOs both of those guys. So have fun playing those speed ties. Obviously, Flutter Mane will get the speed boost, but yeah, and then also Miraidon, which is the other partner, also has 135 speed. So we're just a glut right now. Caloric Shadow is faster than all those. Groudon's much slower. You're not playing that speed war. You're a little bulkier, right? But also notably, you're not weak to Flutter Mane. I think that's the big trade-off. Is that
absolutely
you don't have Groudon feels like less. Needs to Terra a lot less. And then alternatively, maybe you can use an offensive Terra a little better. I think Miraidon's probably Terra Fire almost always. And also the traditional ground fairy coverage that you're going to be putting. Of course, you're going to be putting the Flutter Mane. This is Xerneas with the format, right? But the Flutter Mane against the Groudon, classic combo. The fairy ground combo is so much more powerful than any of the typings that Miraidon can give Flutter Mane.
Fire fairy is pretty close.
until you face a fire type.
Yeah. Anyways, Rising Raichu, you mentioned, can we talk about the Vancouver results as well? If you have anything that like you particularly want to like mention about it, feel free, but we're not going to like discuss it just because this is like a Tub Takes mini. We're going to be doing Tub Takes official later with like actual guests. We're just doing this right now while me and Adi are here together, like physically. Yeah, Groudon is definitely much more able to use Trick Room. That's another good thing that separates the Pokemon. You know, you can use Groudon in and out of Trick Room if that's something you're looking for. And so, yeah, then we haven't talked about Shadow Rider yet. I don't think these guys are terribly ordered. I would probably say Shadow Rider falls behind the Sun guys, in my opinion. Just because these guys are enabling your whole team in broken ways. And Shadow Rider, it is still obviously broken, but it has to deal with, you know, Flutter almost always outspeeding it. Incineroar going to be probably about as common as it has been. But I would still say it's S tier. It's a Pokemon that, for some reason, dodged all nerfs. You know, Zacian, Zamazenta even caught a nerf. Ice Rider caught a nerf, but Shadow Rider's just, like, chilling. What the hell, man?
Now, yeah, it is silly, especially since it won Worlds.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Calyrex Shadow Rider is maybe number one. It at least is my personal favorite among the S tiers because rather than setting up your other Pokemon, it wins you the game. It is the win condition. It is the fastest Pokemon in the format, other than Regieleki and Fluttermane and Photosynthesis, and I guess Iron Bundle and Photosynthesis or Quark Drive and all that stuff. But other than Quark Drive Mons, it is the fastest Pokemon in the format. Astral Barrage is a stupid move. It's maybe the stupidest move ever made, right? Like Groudon, you get in a position to win the game, you're clicking 85% accurate Press Blades. Calyrex Shadow does not have to do that. It gets Expanding Force, so it can win the game that way, and it pairs so well with Indeedee. And then on top of that, it has Terra, which means that it's no longer 4x weak to 2 different types. It can just Terra out of that, which is so powerful for Calyrex Shadow Rider, because I think that at least when I was playing Calyrex Shadow Rider back in Series 10, again, go to my YouTube channel, you can see that I have a team report where I did pretty well with that. And it wanted to run Life Orb. It needed the damage boost. But now you can run Life Orb and you can just defensively Terra out of any of the dark moves and the ghost moves, and you're super good. So I think Calyrex Shadow Rider is crazy. But yeah, I think everyone agrees that these are the big 3 restricteds that you have to cover and have to think about whenever you're building a team.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is definitely going to be a very different format, but we're already seeing like Fluttermane's dropping like Shadow Ball a lot in the current format, and so I'm just wondering how good spamming a Ghost type move is going to be in this format that we don't know too much about. There might be a lot of things. I know it's 165.
It's 165, 150. That's insane.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'd probably put this guy as number 1 in 2 restricted. Because it is easily you can slap it on a Sun team, you can slap it on a Rain team, you can slap it on a Miraidon team, whatever you want to do. You can use it with anybody, but the Sun guys, they just have too many broken partners, is my thought. So that's why I want to put them higher, but we'll put it...
I can put a Raging Bolt on my CSR team. I can get the Sun boost too.
Yeah, you can. Anyways,
I do want to do one more thing while we're talking about this, which is that you'd cried on up. We did not talk about this guy's signature move, but that is very relevant and apparently not used in singles.
It makes sense. It's worse than close combat. We actually might even use close combat and it's got collision course.
Yeah,
which is funny because if Incineroar intimidates you, you're still probably gonna be able to kill it because it's doing bonus damage, but. Man, wait, isn't that like barely stronger than close combat to Incineroar? Because it's 120 BP versus what, 133 BP?
Yes.
Wait, this move might suck. When are you like not killing something that's super effective? Yeah, no, I actually think this move might just be bad.
This isn't a spread move, is it?
No, it's not a spread move. It's a decent amount stronger. Yeah, I guess I've got a point. Anyways, Is you trying to meet up for food later, by the way? I don't know. We're meeting up with Kunal, but
yeah,
I don't know if you'll have time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, okay, but enough about these guys. Around 13 BP stronger. That does sound like the factually correct answer. You just
13 BP is about 10%, you know? So
okay, so let's talk about Kyogre next. Kyogre, I want to put in it does feel like it's going to be behind the other ones, but it's still a strong option. It's Kyogre after all. This mod has been very relevant in every GS Cup that we've had, single, double restricted. Probably gonna end up being stronger in double. I feel like you can say that about a lot of guys. I feel like everything just kind of gets stronger with double. Everything becomes more viable because it's not like committing your most important team slot to one Pokemon. But yeah, Kyogre does have to compete with 2 Sunsetters now. What the hell, man? That's brutal for this guy.
One of which resists water.
Yes. Yeah, we have like, Groudon used to have to switch in and take a casual 80 or whatever from Water Spout and be like, I did my job. This is cool. But now you have a water resist. Why is Mewtwo in C? ESM, what do you have? What does it do? Okay. So we can put it lower. Sure. Anyways. I didn't mention that we also have Miraidon. A Miraidon who's going to be a solid Pokemon. That is going to resist.
I swear to God, everyone. Fine. Is this better? Is this better, everyone?
Why is Mewtwo above Lugia? I do think that was incorrect. Yes.
We put them in the same tier, and then we decided that we had a John Hu tier, which is maybe just a C tier Pokemon.
A little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Kyogre, like the thing that's keeping Kyogre behind for me is not just the fact that we have 2 Sunsetters, but also that there are not as many broken rain Pokemon. Like I'm trying to think, like what is this guy going to be? Arcaludon's the new one that people are talking about. Will that guy be able to hold up in a GS Cup format? It has to take an Astral Barrage. It has to take a Precipice Blades. It has to take
Moonblast.
close combat from the other guy. Like actually every Pokemon in S tier is going to pressure Arcaludon pretty crazy.
Yep. It's probably a Terrahog. It isn't even like the other thing is like I can't even click Electroshock, right? Like even if I position myself well, even if I have Arcaludon, they have Groudon in the field, I switch my Kyogre, I want to click Electroshock into the Koraidon, into the Groudon. Like what? What am I doing with this mod?
Yeah. Yeah, Water Ursh is a good shout. It was another Pokemon I was going to mention. Wellspring is a Pokemon that we haven't talked about yet that is going to make Kyogre miserable. Because we're not doing it now. We might do it in the future, but I wanted to do a tier list of all the non-restricted Pokemon for a potential restricted format. Adi says people don't care about that as much. No, I find it very interesting.
I said that this is going to be informative to people because we're going to talk about the way these Pokemon have changed.
Yeah.
That they haven't seen in a while. But if we're speculating about it, we don't know this is the format. We don't have any confirmation that Reg G is 1 restricted or 2 restricted. So we're speculating it based on a promo poster from Japan, right? So we are just guessing. But this is something we're going to have to learn eventually, so we might as well go over it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably go over it again when the rule set gets confirmed.
Yeah.
At which point I think we could talk about what support Pokemon are better. But the support Pokemon that are really good in 1 restricted versus 2 restricted is probably going to be different. And I think it makes sense to talk about support Pokemon in the context of a format that we actually know exists.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, yes, Waterpond is going to be good. Yes, Fluttermane, Incineroar, Raging Bull are going to be good. Those are good Pokemon.
And Urshifu, probably. I don't want to think about those guys. Okay.
Wait, we got a new Surging Strike resist. Switching your Koraidon to Surging Strikes.
Honestly, this guy does belong in Jehu only. And I don't mean that. I mean that in both ways. I mean that I do think I put it a tier above Mewtwo. And probably around Lugia level of viability, and then also I think I could see John Hu using Rayquaza.
I can. It's missing its best part. If it's 1 restricted, it's missing its best partner in Kyogre, right?
Yeah.
You love to click Water Spout. It actually 2 restricted. It might be pretty good because now not only does Water Spout KO Groudon, but also you have Dragon Descent pressure into the Koraidon. Of course, they have Speed You, but you at least it's some pressure into a potential Water Spout switch in, right? So that could be cool. But yeah, single. It's just Dragon Descent again. It's a cool flying type. That's Jehu type, right? But
true.
It's just not only it's strong enough in single. It has to be your Sash, and if you have Sash, you might as well just put it on Calyx Ice Rider or Calyx Shadow Rider, right? So yeah, it's just not. You're wasting so many stats for your restricted. It feels like a base 550 Pokemon because of its attack and special attack stats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this mod actually does feel like it just has like as many stats as a Paradox Legend, like what, or a Paradox Pokemon. Like what the hell? That's sad to think about.
I will say, going back to Kyogre, don't think we need to dwell on Rayquaza. Kyogre always wins the first tournament of the format. That's the running joke. Every single time it's legal, it wins the first tournament. Sometimes it falls off, sometimes it doesn't. So that is the one thing I had to say about Kyogre.
What if we get Mega Ray from Legends ZA? If we get that, I'm not even saying you're like right or wrong, but it just won't be for a while, you know. And yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with Kunal because I do think like Dragonite does just seem better than this guy. Like it's got about the same level of bulk, a little bit less power, but guess what? You get to be immune to Intimidate and Fake Out. This guy just turns off the weather, which is like good. And it has a better off move, than Aerial Ace. It gets to click Dragon's Ascent, and I actually don't know what else would this guy run on Choice Band.
I think that's the set. I think it's Dragon's Ascent, Swords Dance, E-Speed for text.
Oh no! I'm asking if it was running Choice Band like Dragonite.
Dragon's Ascent, E-Speed are always there.
Does it get
probably Outrage or Dragon Claw?
Is V-Create like gone or not? I don't know if it's gone or not. It doesn't seem to be on any of these Smogon sets.
Think it's Spirit Break? Hold up, scroll up.
There's no V down here. What do you mean Spirit Break? You definitely just.
Oh, it's Stealth Rocks. I misread.
I didn't even know it learned Stealth Rocks.
I didn't know that either.
Rayquaza Weezing, that's pretty funny. But yeah, you can run this guy with POW.
Okay, but also Rayquaza is kind of just shitty Weezing, isn't it?
Yes, true. Weezing can turn off the weather. Like, let Weezing do that.
He can't turn off the weather, but he can turn off photosynthesis.
You're right. He can't turn off the weather, but yeah. Whoops. Wasn't V-Create an event move? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they turn event moves into real moves. Like they gave, doesn't Linu learn Extreme Speed for real now? I think Entei learns Extreme Speed for real now. That was originally an event move.
Eruption too.
For which one?
Eruption was an event move for Entei.
Oh, for Entei. I was like, they never gave it to Heatran. Heatran's the big one I think of for Eruption.
Yeah.
Does it Oko Koraidon? Honestly, good question. I feel like it probably does. How bulky is Koraidon? Koraidon. Oh, wait, no, we're talking about Koraidon. I've been confusing it with Miraidon. No, this is definitely not going to Oko this guy. It's got 101.15. This guy's chilling. Okay, you have to run bulk. Wait, that's
0 attack.
Oh, that's Dragon's Ascent. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Of course, Dragon's Ascent. I was thinking about, like, Terra Normal E-Speed.
Yeah, this is also a dragon type, and it's also far faster than you, right? Like, and there's probably the point is that you want to put it on the field when there's a Koraidon and a Fluttermane, right? Or the Fluttermane is the thing that you really want to slow down, but it still outspeeds you and it still knocks you out. So like, what are you doing, right? Like, I don't know. That's you need your partner to KO the 2 Pokemon, and if your partner needs to KO the 2 Pokemon, like
I am legitimately a Rayquaza hitter to the point that I think if you gave me Ray in Regulation F, I'd probably still want Dragonite.
Oh, that's not true.
I know that's probably too crazy of a take, but it's tough takes.
You kidding me?
Give me Dragonite every day. Okay, let's move on though, because we don't need to spend too many times on below B Pokemon. Dialga. So I'm gonna probably grab both of these guys. I think they probably end up next to each other regardless. It's kind of like picking. It's almost like picking an item. With these guys, like they have such similar stat spreads. And the thing about Dialga is, here's what you get. You have these stats with a 120 attack stat, and if you go to the orange form, that goes down to 100, like your off attack stat that you weren't using, and you get 120 defense. So what this means is that you're 120 Spadef, right? Was it 120 Spadef? So you get a bit bulkier at the cost of an item, but the item also isn't bad because it also gives you 1.2 on your stabs, Steel and Dragon. So it's an offense item, technically a little bit of a defense item, and it's also probably knockoff immune if that's relevant to you.
Yep.
So like
Incineroar's rounds.
Yeah, that's like a small, nice benefit. Trick immune too, I guess, right? So you can't lose it. But that means you don't get like an actual bulk item, like an overall bulk item, like Citrus. Dialga might use Citrus well. And yeah, these guys, does that mean Adamant Orb is different? Maybe it does. Maybe you can still run Adamant Orb on Dialga and Palkia.
What was the item you need to run?
It's called Adamant Crystal.
Oh, okay. So what does that do?
What is the crystal does the same stuff.
So it's also
no, it's the exact same item.
Oh, okay.
It's just that it seems like maybe you can run Adamant Orb on regular Dialga.
I see. Yes. Michael might have spread some misinformation.
Okay.
But it does do the 1.2x boost to stabs, right?
Yeah. I just hovered it here. It should have showed up on stream as well. Hopefully for them, maybe they didn't. But it says if held by Dialga, and it's Steel and Dragon type.
Cool. I actually disagree with your placement. I think Dialga Origin is A tier. I think it's one of the better ones, and the reason is because I think it's the single best Trick Room restricted. That might not. I think Dialga's B. I think Dialga Origin is A.
Oh,
sure. I think Dialga
you want
to
separate them.
I think Dialga Origin is better because I think that and if you go back to the Smogon page, I think that there is going to be a very, very scary team that is Telepathy Dialga Origin form that has a ton of bulk.
Oh, are you stealing my idea?
Can click Trick Room and Hisui and Bear comes in, and guess what? Everyone's trying to go fast. Everyone's running their Koraidon and their Fluttermanes and their Raging Bolts, and all of a sudden you're clicking Earthquake plus Draco Meteors, flash cannons, whatever you want. This. I think it's a scary team, and I think you always want origin form on it just because it's bulkier and it has a higher speed def, which is what you really need. And so I think that's my take. I think that's going to be a team that you're going to see a decent amount at regionals, and I think like just in terms of usage, even if it's easier to counter, I think it's worse than Kyogre for sure, but I think it's better than Ho-Oh, and I think it's better than base form Dialga. So either top of B tier or bottom of A tier, something around that range.
No, I think that I can see this guy being A, and I do think it's probably better than Ho-Oh. But yeah, I'm kind of with Kunal. You said I think it was the best Trick Room setter. I think Ice Rider's got to be better.
Okay, Ice Rider's pretty good too. Yeah.
But it's got to be better than Palkia. And so the thing about Palkia is that we now have like a bunch of good drag. And I'm not putting him here. I'm just grabbing him. He's probably gonna end up being like here. I don't know. I think Ho is probably like there. Anyways,
I think Ho might be better than Palkia.
Palkia is not feeling great because Palkia likes when Kyogre's top dog.
Yep.
Kyogre is not top dog, and what is top dog is the sun guys that are boosting a Fluttermane to click Moonblast into you, and the Dragon Sunsetter. There's other dragons too. Am I saying it's Mewtwo tier? I legitimately almost am considering putting it down here.
I think it's a Jehu tier. I think it's.
It probably is. It probably is. And let's talk about this guy really quick. The other one. Because it's actually actively bad. It's funny because Palkia would have loved this like generation or two ago. But the difference here now is we lose 20 in attack. I think again, but to get 20 in speed, which is like really cool for old like 5 years ago Palkia. 120 speed, that's solid. Now you're looking at Fluttermane, Jianpao, both of the motorcycle dragons, and Zacian, and what is the other one? Calyrex.
And we got Prankster Tailwind now.
Calyrex. I mean, yeah, there's just so many things that outspeed it that 20 speed is actually actively bad. This mon would rather have 20 less and be able to set Trick Room.
If you give 20 speed def, I think it would actually be okay.
If they, yeah, or 20 defense, like, you know, just making it well-rounded like the other one, still maybe 100 speed. I don't know. This guy...
yeah, like, I mean, so I ran Palkia in Moon Series, and obviously we both ran it at last 2022, not last year anymore. But yeah, I think I remember in Moon Series I had so many base 100 speed ties. I don't remember what they were, but like it was so common that I would have killed for Palkia to have 120 speed. It would have been so good with 120 speed. But now, I mean, yeah, it's just not enough. I think I think it's unplayably bad. I think it's probably like I think someone's gonna make use of Origin Form. I think the speed boost is actually gonna be relevant for someone's gonna click Regieleki buttons or something. But yeah, I think it's like meme tier, which means Jehu tier. Honestly, I could see C tier as well. For either of them.
It's definitely better than Mewtwo, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Speaking of Giratina, I don't think either of these are going to be very good. It's tough to say like how bad. I feel like the bulky one at least gets to run an item.
Does it get any moves?
Mewtwo probably could go down in F tier. Honestly, I'm with you on that one, ESM. We could do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fair.
It's worse than Kyurem base form. It's not worse than Kyurem base form. I'll fight you on that one.
Kyurem base form is more outclassed than Mewtwo.
Yes. Yeah.
You are less. You shouldn't use Kyurem base form because you can use Kyurem White. You shouldn't use Mewtwo because you can use Calyrex Shadow Rider, but it probably does some stuff that Calyrex Shadow Rider doesn't. So
yeah,
you get the Aurus, for example, so it can hit dark types.
Yeah. This guy, I'll probably just put like here in C tier or some shit. It probably could go down there. Honestly, I don't even know if this guy belongs to be up here. No, it's probably they're both like here. And yeah, what is there to say about Giratina? The mon has not historically been good in.
Does it get any new moves? Does it get any new... Sorry, I forget that I need to talk out loud to the microphone. Does it get any new moves is what I asked.
This tier list is a sham? Why is Giratina good? Somebody tell me any reason?
Breaking Swipe is a cool support move that it gets. That is something. I don't know. Tell me if you see anything else worth using on this guy. Because this is pretty clearly like a support Pokemon, right? Maybe you can click a Rain Dance, like manual
Will-O-Wisp and Shadow Force.
Skitter Smack, Breaking Swipe, Giratina.
Oh my god. Wait, is that the special attack one? Yeah.
Look,
but dude, Skitter Smack's so bad. It's 90 act.
Oh my god. Look, I looked at this move. There's not a single good move here. You can Will-O-Wisp? Is that what you're doing with your single restricted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this guy... I got real quiet when I asked for a reason. So
it's worse than gouging fire. That's my take. It's bad gouging fire. It's not a fairy resist. Ghost is a bad typing for it defensively too. It's an awful typing, and it does the same things but worse.
All right, so let's talk about Reshiram and I guess like Zekrom next. But Reshiram, it was funny. Didn't Reshiram have like a little bit of a spotlight?
Team. You lost.
Yeah. The Reshiram was doing okay with Dynamax. This was Dynamax, right? Yeah. So I guess it's kind of another Pokemon that needed Dynamax to do anything. I'm gonna say that it's better than Giratina, worse than Palkia Origin. I'm gonna put it there. I don't think it does anything too interesting, if I'm being honest.
I'm looking it up right now because I could not tell you like if it again. I've not looked at the shitmons, so I don't actually know if it gets any new moves or anything. Again, at the time, Turbo Blaze is just a mold breaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so not really useful right now. Two restricted again, it's cool because it's a fire type that it has. It gets to it's a fire type that can maybe benefit from the sun as your second restricted. So that's like potential use for it. But in one restricted, it's just like it's base 600. It's our base 680. It's not base 780 like some of these other guys, right? It doesn't get a crazy good ability. It doesn't have like Blue Flare is a good move, isn't it? 90% accurate too. Doesn't even get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like or 85% accurate. Oh my god. Like I don't know. Like, did it get Iron Defending his body press?
It is also seeming a bit worse than Gouging Fire. Like, it has a 120 BP move that it gets to use for most of the time. Honestly, Gouging Fire, I don't... Like, it could maybe be useful in a format. We'll talk about that when we talk about, like, supporters that are viable in a format. Heat Crash does get a lot worse in the restricted format. There's a lot of big guys. Anyways.
On that guy.
Yeah, you might have to. Or the new, I've seen it. I've never actually, no, I've seen Flare Blitz, but more often when I see a bad move on Gouging Fire, I see Temper Flare, that like fire, the Stomping Tantrum one. That's what I would see on like in-game ladder. Temper Flare, fucking that stupid ass move. Anyways, Zekrom.
Better than Reshiram, but still in C tier. That's my take.
Yeah, Zekrom had less appearances than Reshiram in 2022. Not that Dynamax was very friendly to it either, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so the problem with the Reshiram is that it's an electric dragon type.
There's
also this guy right here.
Yeah.
It's also
I forgot we did just get the like much better mon. Let's go ahead and put this guy in there right now. I'm actually gonna put it right there above Kyogre and A, I would say. Some people think this mon is gonna be the best restricted. I don't love that take. I don't think it has nearly as many broken mons it's supporting. You get to run, like, Bundle with a free booster, so that's really cool. Bundle could be now Sashed, or Life Orb if you want to do some damage. Covert Cloak if you want to, like, you know, mimic Fluttermane being Fake Out immune. You know, you have to, like, give up an item slot that way. I do not like the idea of thinking about how these like speed booster flutters just don't even have to run booster energy, bro. They just get to be speed booster and an item.
Isn't it funny that now having your base 135 speed stat Pokemon next to your Pokemon with 136 in a speed boost is a speed? It's a speed sandwich.
It is. But also, no, that's like, honestly, I'm glad that you brought that up because, like, you have, like, Fluttermane and the Motorcycle Dragons sitting at 135. Getting to run Bundle with that 136 is a very sizable, like, advantage.
And there's one funny math thing that you should know, which is that I believe, and I might put the damage calc because sometimes it doesn't work, but if you Icy Wind a max speed Timid Fluttermane that has the speed boost, it's 1 point slower than max speed Miraidon Kyurem, right?
You're saying like a rounding thing?
Yeah, it's a rounding thing. If you Icy Wind after they get the photosynthesis boost, they go down to 1 point slower.
It would be...
it'll be 204. So that means that it's even if they're max speed Timid Fluttermane, which they really should be, I think, because all these speed ties.
You won't even have to worry about the speed tie.
You won't even have to worry about the speed tie, which otherwise would really mess you up.
Ooh, that is really nice. That is actually so nice for it. That interaction, like, honestly, a very solid point in favor of Miraidon. And honestly, Bundle, like, looking at it, Icy Wind is going to annoy the shit out of this guy. You get to hit this guy and this guy super effectively. You can freeze dry some things. Bundle, I know that we're veering a bit into the, you know, supporter Pokemon talk, but it's a very important reason to run Miraidon is that you get to run these two together, and they're going to be very cool. Are there any other ones that we want to give a quick shout out to before we move on?
Quark Drive ones?
Yeah, Quark Drives.
Iron Hand's still around. It's still a good Pokemon.
Yeah, it just has, like, too much overlap. Like, funny enough, Iron Hands is, like, the one electric type one, and... You get to go for strong electric moves, but they will share a couple of weaknesses, notably fairy and ground. Not great.
Right. The downside is that, like, yeah, the two best electric types in the format, the non-restricted that really take advantage of electric terrain, share the weaknesses, right? And so that is the being Raging Bolt, which is also pretty cool, but it's the exact same typing.
Yeah.
So that one's a little awkward too. But I think the placement, I could see it swapped with Kyogre. I think it's or I could see it in top 8 tier. I think those two are neck and neck. Kyogre doesn't have a neck, but you know,
Yeah.
I think they're right up there at the top of A, but I think they're a step below the top 3. But yeah, I think you will see Miraidon at regionals. I think this guy is going to be good.
1 second. Yeah, Jam Bounce, you said, would Ting Lu be decent? I think it will be. We'll probably spend more time talking about it, though, in a supporter tier list kind of thing. Yeah, I don't disagree, ESM. It could be the bottom of S. I just want to say that I think, like, it's going to have to compete. It has to keep up a little bit with these guys, but I definitely think, like, it's the top of A. Let's talk about Kyurem White. Yeah, so now we're talking about like a real Kyurem. Kyurem regular doesn't really do anything, and honestly, I don't think Kyurem Black is going to do much either. I'd rather just like throw this guy down here with these guys.
That mon is worse than that's worse than Max Caliber.
Yeah. We were talking about this.
Put that below Giratina. I'm sorry.
You can just run Excalibur now for a non-restricted slot, and it also has like maybe arguably a better ability.
It does. It's 2 better abilities.
Yeah. So yeah, Kyurem, though, I think it probably goes here. I think it's better than Palkia. Like, it would either be here and be above everybody in the tier, or at the bottom of this one. And the thing about Kyurem is that, yeah, like, Assault Vest Kyurem, that sounds fun. Choice specs, like, yeah, Tayu, come out in the right time now that we're talking about Snow. Because, like, this guy can just, like, click Blizzard for infinite damage. Like, look at the thing is like, I'm gonna later say that I'd rather do that with Ice Rider, and that's why Ice Rider's gonna be tiered higher. But look at Ice into the top like 4 restricteds. You just click it and it does hella damage. The Mon's got pretty good bulk. I think I should pull that up. Kyurem White, it's got 125, 90, 100. That's okay bulk. That's fine, but that special attack set is 170. What the holy. And it's got great coverage because it does have Freeze Dry Blizzard, a fire move for coverage, dragon moves for coverage. Like, this mod has a lot of things going for it. So I actually feel pretty happy with putting it in B.
I agree. I think the bottom of B is the right place for it. I think it and Ho-Oh are like fringe viable. I think you'll see it occasionally. Dialga is yeah, I think all these guys are probably the same tier. Yeah.
Solgaleo is probably going to be lower. I think I'm going to put it like here. I don't think it's as bad as like the Sea guys, and it's probably a bit worse than Palkia. The thing is that Metagross isn't doing the hottest right now. This is just me stealing some of ESM's takes. But the Solgaleo, the reason that it was able to keep up in the Dynamax format is because Max Steel Spike and Max Quake were so good, and especially on a guy that couldn't be intimidated, and Weakness Policy was very good. Now, a lot harder to run Weakness Policy, and it's kind of slow. It's got okay bulk. Its ability is solid. Its stabs are not the strongest. Like, you know, you could just, if you want to click a strong steel move, you can click like Make It Rain with Goldengo or something, and Sunseal Strike just doesn't really cut it, in my opinion.
Behemoth Blade, that's the good one.
Yeah, I mean that's always been the one that made this guy sad. What do you have to say about Soul? Anything?
No, I agree. I think like if you look back, it's honestly, this guy is supposed to be mediocre the entire time it's existed, and has somehow been like decently good in every, like it's been like B or C tier every single format. And I think this is the first time it's just gonna be entirely unviable. I think it's Jehu only. It is a Steel type. It is a Steel type. That is cool. Especially if we're gonna see a bunch of Fairy types coming around. But yeah, like I don't know. Psychic is a really bad defensive typing right now. Full Metal Body is a cool ability.
You got knockout. That's fun.
I think it really just depends on like there is a world where the metagame is a bunch of spread moves and it gets wide guard, a bunch of Fairy types and it's a Steel type, like a bunch of Intimidate and it's clear, it's Full Metal Body, and it's like, okay, then maybe it's playable, but unless the
work hard.
Unless the metagame shapes up perfectly for it, I just cannot imagine using it.
I'm much more excited to talk about Lunala. I think this guy's really cool. I think something that we've kind of failed to talk about when mentioning, Adi mentioned this a bit with Shadow Rider, but I think it's even more important for some of these other restricteds, is how they will play with Terra. And Lunala is one of the first ones where I look at this guy and I'm like, all right, actually, This guy's got a pretty exploitable typing. It's actually the exact same typing as Shadow Rider, which is funny to mention. But Terra, yeah, this guy's got very good defenses, Lunala, very similar to Solgaleo. But it
Are they related?
yeah, yeah, almost, you could say. But with multi-scale and the ability to Terra defensively, this guy is so cool. Yeah, no, you could probably tier a lot of these guys based on spread move or not, but Miraidon doesn't have a spread move, and he's pretty good. But yeah, Lunala, I don't think I'm going to put it there, by the way. I wanted to put it in A. I'm going to put it like here. I think it's going to be very cool. Very good. Meteor Beam, and yeah, it's got like Moongeist Beam is still going to be like solid. I was talking earlier, I don't think Ghost coverage is like great, but Meteor Beam is just so good, especially for that +1. The mon has like a very sizable move pool. It can run Moonblast if it wants. It can run a Psychic move if it wants. It can make it Expanding Force, Trick Room, Wide Guard. It does a lot of stuff. But yeah, very cool Pokemon.
Yeah.
Duskmane and Dawnwings. Let's start with Duskmane.
So one thing about Lunala that we didn't mention is it gets Meteor Beam. That's not new. It got Meteor Beam last gen, but it is a very powerful move. We've seen how strong it is. I think it's probably even stronger. That's not necessarily true because Dynamax meant you really wanted to use Flying type, but that's the other reason that it's really strong. Expanding Force, Meteor Beam, it gets some really cool moves on top of having the bulk. And then I compared it to Mimikyu in some ways, in that you have you take the first attack, and then like remember Sash Mimikyu back in the day? It's like that. You take the first attack, and then you Terra, and you always take the second attack.
Yeah.
So it's almost always getting 3-shot, which is a really cool ability in a format which is really, really fast paced. Of course, I think Shadow Rider does ignore its ability, right?
Shadow Rider?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Or
no, it didn't. No,
it didn't. Right,
no,
right.
Shadow Rider doesn't have any Mold Breaker properties or anything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No, I saw your text. Cool.
Just keeps counting. Doesn't Lunala get Blood Moon? That's very funny.
Yeah. Right.
It gets Moonblast.
All right.
They should release an event shiny Lunala that gets Blood Moon. Wouldn't that be funny? That's the only way it gets it.
That would be pretty fun. Yeah, honestly, I didn't even know if it would run Blood Moon. Maybe it would. Terra Normal. Actually, wait, I would run it because Terra Normal, like, you get to flip the Ghost weakness. That would be hype.
True.
That would be hype. Doesn't Lunala also ignore Moongeist Beam or Mold Breaker effects?
It ignores Mold Breaker effects. It does not ignore Moongeist Beam. I think is what it was. I think it's like it was immune to all the ones that came before it, but not immune to the ones that came after it. Essentially.
I actually just don't remember. I can't say anything with a level of confidence.
Okay, that's fair.
Duskmane though. Let's talk about Duskmane. So Duskmane I think is pretty low. I'm gonna put it like about the same tier as Solgaleo. I think it's better than it because it gets to run like Clear Amulet and then pretend that it's this guy with like a slightly better ability, I guess. Prism Armor is cool for taking hits. Could also run Weakness Policy still on it. Maybe this guy is just worse. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think it's better.
Okay.
But I can't tell you how much better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know if it's viable or not because it's really, really bulky. And it has the ability that lets it not take... Unlike a lot of these Pokemon, it doesn't have Terra. It doesn't take super effective damage, or it takes less damage from super effective moves, which is really nice. It's a really good ability. Again, Steel types, I can see a metagame where Steel types are really valuable. Especially since this one actually can take a Flutter Mane Shadow Ball really comfortably. Right? So those are attributes that are pretty strong, especially if you were trying to use it as a Trick Room user like it usually is. And so I think it's bottom B. I think that's right. I think it gets C play. I wouldn't use it. It's certainly worse than Kyurem, Ho-Oh, and Dialga. I don't even know. Honestly, I'd put Dialga below Kyurem and Ho-Oh. But I think that it's around Dialga tier.
No, I think I agree with moving the I think I like this guy the most in B tier right now, if I'm being honest, after thinking about it a bit. But this all seems right. Does it get Stomping Tantrum? I actually don't know if it does. I don't know if that moves the needle on it very much for me either.
It doesn't. Give it Headlong Rush, then we'll talk.
Yeah. This guy also gets Meteor Beam. I kind of want to put it. I want to put it above this.
Nope.
Why not?
It's Jehu.
It
is worse than Lunala in every way. We were talking about this in the car. We look at the bulk. You would think like Solgaleo is way less bulky.
I forgot about this.
Solgaleo is way less bulky than Duskmane. Lunala is just as bulky as Dawnwings, if not bulkier.
Yeah, no, I think I also don't know if Solgaleo is that much less bulky than Duskmane, by the way. But I do know that this guy does not have much more impressive bulk than Lunala, and it does have to like it just doesn't have the broken multi-scale. The stats are better for Trick Room. I think I'd probably just put it here.
Here's the thing. Sorry, go ahead. Finish
I was just gonna say that it's like Lunala, but like more built for Trick Room, and like its ability is cool. I think the Prism Armor is cool with Terra because you can still Terra, and you know if your new type is being exploited, it's not being exploited nearly as hard as other Pokemon. So that's really cool.
You want to click Follow Me Trick Room and then Meteor Beam and then Expanding Force? Is that right?
Yeah.
If only there was a second Pokemon that could click Trick Room, Meteor Beam, Expanding Force that we currently have access to.
yeah. No, I don't know. Like, I think it's just
I'd
slower.
I'd rather use Armor Root. I'd rather use Armor Root
No.
on the team. Yeah, I would. It does. Even Armor Root, it's actually not bad into Ice Rider. I think I'd rather use Armor Root. I've talked myself into it. It doesn't even get Wide Guard.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't learn Wide Guard?
No, and Armor Root does.
Yeah. No, I know that Armor does. So Zacian regular, I don't think I want to talk about much. I do think I will separate the Zamazentas when we get there. But Zacian regular, it's just kind of outclassed. It doesn't feel like it belongs in F tier. It's probably significantly better than even like Giratina.
I'd put it in C. Like you could theoretically find some funny item, but I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, they're probably not worth thinking about. Zacian got a BP or not a BP, a BST nerf. On top of it, no longer exploiting the generational mechanic, and its ability was nerfed too. It's still pretty good.
And yet,
still seems
yet it's still an A tier. I think it's Dialga level. It's probably worse than Lunala. But I think that the set that you're gonna run on this guy is gonna be is Swords Dance, because now all of a sudden you don't want to really play it in a pivoty way. You don't want to switch it in and out. You're really losing the boost. The boost is really good. That hasn't stopped. Like you think about like Speed Booster Fluttermane or Booster Energy Mons. You really don't want to switch those guys out. You do sometimes, but not regularly. And so getting the +1 boost, having an Incineroar switch in and getting Swords Dance seems like a really strong interaction. I think that's the set that I'd run. But again, in a Fluttermane format, I think it's always going to see play. It's still a fairy, so it still hits the Koraidons and the Miraidons of the world. So I think it's still well positioned.
I'll just say this out loud, but are we ranking these on single or double? I think the thing is that I said this earlier, but it feels like if you probably, it's better to look at most Pokemon in single, because like in double, it kind of just raises the floor for all of them, or you can use the bad ones better, but it doesn't mean that the good ones get worse, so I think that you can still say Dialga is going to stay here in B tier. It's not going to rise up to A in double restricted, but it's going to be a lot more viable in double restricted, because then it's not, going all in on a Dialga. You get to run like a Shadow Rider or a Groudon with your off restricted. They can carry a bit more of the weight that the other one is not, doing, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
There is 1 to 2 Pokemon that I think are significantly different in 2 restricteds, and we're actually going to talk about it next. It's Zamazenta.
Yeah, that guy and Rayquaza is the other one, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I think Zacian seems here. I like Adi's points about Swords Dance. I think this Pokemon, the thing is it still has incredible bulk and an incredible typing. Steel Fairy is very hard to break. Okay. Let's talk about Zam. And so the only reason that I think that it's worth talking about this guy is because it does now get Iron Defense Body Press, and that means that like a leftover set is cool and tempting. The Iron Defense Body Press Pokemon want to have sustained recovery, but a natural Steel typing and a higher BST on top of Steel Stab for like hitting a Fluttermane is really cool. So I feel like I'd probably put them next to each other in terms of the tier list wherever we put them, but they are like different enough to distinguish. Like that you could choose either, I think.
The Crown form is going to be really cool when you have 2 restricteds, because it has a crazy support move pool. Wide Guard, Coaching are 2 really, really good moves. And then also, Behemoth Bash is great into Fluttermane. It's got Body Press with the +1 defense stat immediately and Fighting Stab. Like it is going to be a lot better Pokemon in 2 restricted. But yes, I think that as of now, it has a thing that it can do, but is that thing good into a format where 2 of the best restricted are ghost types and Terapagos is going to be a thing? I don't know.
ESM does bring up a good point. The speed is also really cool for running the regular one. It's 138 versus 128.
Okay.
That's pretty massive.
Okay. I'd put Zamazenta then. Maybe
I don't think it changes my tier on it,
No,
honestly, but it's just another cool thing to consider with the regular one.
I would try to put it here. I think that it's maybe better than Palkia then. But
yeah.
or
You're
at
saying
least better
like
than
just the
Pokemon.
one? You're saying to separate the two of them?
I think
Okay.
that speed tier is really good.
Mm-hmm.
That is I did not know that. That is a real reason to use it. Granted, There's also a couple other restrictors that you can use, like Zacian. But
All right, we've got a bus in 7 minutes, and so we're gonna wrap this up in like 5, and then get down to it. So let's talk about these last 3. They're actually all relatively impactful. And Eternatus, where do you want to put it? I don't know. I feel like it's probably
this is a Jehumon.
it is a Jehumon. Cut with it.
I think it's viable. I think it's okay. I think it might be either bottom of B. If you're gonna put Dawnwings in B, I think it's Dawnwings tier. If you're gonna put Dawnwings in C, then I think it's the same as Dawnwings.
All right.
It's not better, honestly, because I'd use it and I wouldn't use Dawnwings.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I'm using either of these guys, but Eternatus does have a very solid stat line: 145, 95, 95. Bear the defenses, 130 speed. We talked about it, kind of not cutting it. You'd probably just end up investing a lot in bulk, but the bulk's going to go a long way, and it's also pretty strong. Its typing is interesting. It's not like bad. You get at least a neutral fairy on your dragon, so that's cool. You can punish fairy flutter if they do Terra with a poison move. So I think this guy's solid, and it's got like a really good move pool. It has Meat Beam, it has like Recover, has access to Solid Stab. We've seen how good Sludge Bomb is at breaking balance scores.
Yep.
It's gonna operate a little bit like a Landorus, I guess. You know, honestly, I'm not even sure if it's a strong, but after a Meat Beam, definitely. So that's really cool.
Yep.
Ice Rider, I'm a big fan of.
We're not going to talk about this one for a minute.
No. We'll wrap him up quick. I think I'm gonna put it here. I legit want to put it there. I don't know. I think it's the best Trick Room setter, and I think that as we talked about with Kyurem earlier, there are a lot of ice weaknesses. And it got access to a new item, Clear Amulet, going to be very good for it. That is going to make it a lot more viable for setting Trick Room and then sweeping. Clear Amulet paired with just Beast Boost, whatever, Moxie. It's actually called Chilling Nay. Moxie Chilling Nay is lit. This Pokemon gets to sweep. It has high horse. It did get nerfed by the Glacial Lance BP, which I am just pissed about because it was never better than Shadow Rider.
Right?
Like what? And then it's so stupid. Why did
it win a single event?
Why is it catching a stray? And it does get a snow buff. I don't know how viable snow will be, but sure.
It's got a base 150 defense stat. I don't think it needs the snow boost.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Lastly, this guy's kind of a big mystery to us. Like we probably don't know enough about it. I'm speaking for Audie here. I don't know. Maybe
yes,
I
right.
think that's correct though.
I know less than you do.
Yeah. So I don't know much about Terapagos. I know a bit about its mechanics. They're a bit strange. We're definitely going to do a deeper dive when we have to. But I do know that the Mon Solid, the Stellar thing is cool. So I'm gonna put it probably an A. I do think it's gonna be good, or maybe B.
I think it's top B. I think it's Ho level. It's anti-meta, right?
Yeah,
you're
probably.
You're really having to call out what the meta is gonna look like if you're gonna use this guy, because it has to really put in work. It does not. It's awkward. I think the mechanics were like, its ability doesn't quite work the way you want it to. I forget exactly how it works.
It has multi-scale before Terra, a weird version of multi-scale, mind you, but then after you Terra, it basically gets like an anti-terrain, anti-weather ability that is cool, and it does add a good amount of depth to the game. You have to decide when you want to Terra. Do you want to have this multi-scale up before you take a hit, or do you need to clear the weather now?
I think that
I want to put it in an A.
I think that looking back at this, I wish we had a tier between B and John, because I think that these three are so much worse than these three.
Oh, I agree.
And Terapagos is pretty comparable to the Kyurem and the Hoa.
Yeah. So if we
like a B minus level,
real quick, yeah, just B and B minus, and yeah, putting like those guys like that. That seems like pretty solid. We'll definitely revisit this when this is the actual format. I'm honestly manifesting that it isn't, but now that we've done the tier list, it's doomed. So yeah, and then I also in the future want to try out a non-restricted one. I'm not gonna bother rating because we do kind of just have to run. So this is the list. This was fun. This was our Tub Takes Mini while Audie was here. We're gonna go get some food in Seattle, and we'll catch you guys later. Have a good night, peeps.
See you guys.